Hi, my name is Elena, and I'm about to share something with you that completely changed how I see the food I've been eating my entire life. You know that feeling when you bite into something so delicious, so familiar, that you don't even think twice about where it came from? Yeah, that's been me with tacos my whole life. But here's the wild part. The food that defines my culture, the thing that makes me feel most connected to Mexico, has a story so incredible, so unexpected, that I literally couldn't believe it when I discovered the truth. So sit with me, because today we're uncovering the real journey of the taco, and trust me, it's nothing like you'd expect. Let me take you back to when I was younger. I remember my abuela making tortillas every single day, and I'd always ask her, why is this called a taco? And honestly, she never really gave me a straight answer. So I became obsessed with finding out. What I discovered shocked me. The word taco actually comes from an ancient Nahuatl word, laco, which literally means half or in the middle. And when you really think about that, it's so beautiful, right? Because a taco is literally about something being held perfectly in the middle. It's about balance. It's about taking something and folding it just right. I know that sounds poetic, but there's actually something really profound about that concept when you understand the deeper meaning. Of course, not everything wrapped in a tortilla is technically a taco. I mean, quesadillas exist, and that's a whole other debate, but that's for another conversation. Now, here's where it gets really interesting. Nobody knows exactly when tacos were invented, but I found something that completely blew my mind. Way back. We're talking about the pre-Hispanic times in ancient Mesoamerica, specifically with the Olmec civilization. That's when something revolutionary happened. They discovered nixtamalization. And I know that's a big word, so let me explain why this matters so much. Nixtamalization is basically the process of transforming raw corn kernels into this magical paste that becomes the foundation for tortillas, tamales, and so much more. This wasn't just a cooking technique, this was a cultural revolution. This was the moment that changed everything for Mexican cuisine forever. So fast forward to the Aztec Empire, and here's something that really got to me emotionally. The Emperor Montezuma, this incredibly powerful ruler, he was using tortillas as a utensil. Imagine that. Instead of using silverware or plates, he was using tortillas to grab and hold his food. It was practical, yes, but it was also the beginning of something so deeply embedded in our culture that we still do it today without even realizing it. Every time I pick up a tortilla, I'm connecting to this ancient empire, to this incredible history. Then came the Spanish conquistadors, and I'm not going to sugarcoat this. It was colonization. It was complicated. It was painful. But from a culinary perspective, something unexpected happened. Hernán Cortés would host these massive banquets, and they'd serve pork, lots of pork, alongside tortillas. And according to historical accounts written by Bernal Díaz del Castillo, an actual Spanish conquistador who was there, something absolutely historic took place in Coyoacán, right here in Mexico City. The very first taquiza happened. A taquiza, which is basically a celebration or gathering where tacos are made and shared, this was the spark that ignited everything. From that moment on, tacos stopped being just a simple food and became something cultural, something communal, something that brought people together. I grew up hearing stories about tacos acorazados, which literally means armored tacos. And isn't that the coolest name? And these originated in the early 1900s in a small town called Huautla in Morelos. These weren't your average tacos. These were tacos loaded with rice and stews on top. They used whatever people had: beef, chicken, pork, longaniza, mole, eggs, crispy chicharron, and green salsa. Basically, if it tasted good, it went on top of that tortilla. The tortilla, I learned, was the ultimate canvas. It could work with literally anything. And I think that's why tacos have survived so long. They're not rigid, they're adaptable, they're alive. But here's where the story gets really human, and honestly, when I learned this, I got emotional. In the 1950s, in the small state of Tlaxcala, something beautiful emerged from something really difficult. There was a severe economic crisis. People were unemployed, desperate, trying to figure out how to survive and feed their families. And you know what some of them did? They started selling tacos de canasta, basket tacos. These are simple, affordable, made with small tortillas, piled with salsa, green or red, sometimes onions and vegetables, depending on who's selling them. The vendor would keep them warm in a basket covered with cloth while they walked through the streets selling them. It was humble. It was humble, but it was also revolutionary. It was survival turned into sustenance. And now, Tlaxcala is literally known as the basket taco capital of Mexico. Every single day, thousands of people are eating these tacos that were born from desperation and hope. Okay, so this is the part that genuinely shocked me. The most iconic, the most famous, the most representative taco in Mexico, Tacos al Pastor, doesn't actually have Mexican origins. I know, right? I couldn't believe it either. In the 1920s, Lebanese migrants came to Mexico, and they brought with them a traditional dish called shawarma. It was lamb, it was Arab bread, it was spices and vegetables. But as these Lebanese families settled into Mexican communities, something magical happened. The dish started evolving. The lamb became pork. The Arab bread became a tortilla. The spices shifted to Mexican chilies. They added cilantro, onions, and here's the controversial part: pineapple. And suddenly, something entirely new was born. Something that feels so inherently Mexican that most people have no idea it's actually a fusion. And okay, let me just say, the pineapple thing, there's literally a whole debate in Mexico about whether pineapple belongs on tacos al pastor. It's like the Hawaiian pizza argument, but Mexican edition. Some people are absolutely against it. Some people swear by it. Personally, I think it's kind of beautiful that something so authentically Mexican came from mixing cultures and wasn't afraid to try something new. What really fascinated me when I was researching this is realizing that tacos al pastor were inspired by so many different cuisines: shawarma from Lebanon, kebabs from Turkey, gyros from Greece. That rotating meat on the spit that you see in every taqueria, that's not originally Mexican either. When I was a kid, I thought that spit was the ultimate symbol of Mexican cooking, the most authentic representation of our culture. But I was wrong, and honestly, learning that made me love tacos even more. Because what that tells us is that Mexican cuisine isn't about purity, it's about openness, adaptation, creativity, and taking inspiration from everywhere while making it completely your own. So, here's what I realized through all of this research. Tacos aren't just food. They're history, they're resilience, they're cultural identity, they're a Lebanese family's dream adapted into something new. They're a family in crisis during the 1950s figuring out how to survive. They're ancient Aztec emperors and Spanish conquistadors and indigenous civilizations all coming together on one simple tortilla. Today, whether you're eating a basket taco from Tlaxcala or tacos al pastor from Mexico City or some other incredible variation, you're eating layers upon layers of history, migration, struggle, and creativity. You're eating a love story, and that, to me, is why tacos will always be so much more than just food. They're Mexico in every single bite. Thank you so much for diving into this history with me. If you loved learning about tacos as much as I loved researching them, please let me know in the comments what your favorite taco is and where you discovered it. And if you want to hear more untold stories like this, please hit that subscribe button. See you in the next one.